Hello, Miami. Welcome to this very special episode of the Women to Women show here on Miami Community Newspapers. And we're so happy you're here with us today. I'm excited to have Andriana Oliva. She is a City of Miami candidate for running for Commissioner of District 3.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
I have to tell you one of the reasons I reached out to you. I moved to Miami in 2005, and I haven't noticed since I've been in the city of Miami ever a woman commission. I mean, a candidate or any woman on a city of Miami commission
See, yeah.
seat. So I was like, I've got to meet her. And shout out to Violet Ayala for connecting us.
Yes, she's the best. Violet is the best.
So let's talk a little bit about your background, and how long you've lived in District 3 and who you are and your connection here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Christina. It's such a pleasure. I basically have been in the city of Miami since I was 2 years old. And I lived in the Silver Bluff area, went to Silver Bluff Elementary, but I grew up a lot in District 3.
Mhm.
I did my daycare, communion, community service hours in high school. And so it's a place that I really love because
Mhm.
I grew up there, the culture, the vibrancy, the people, the food, the art, all of it. And now, as an adult, I actually had my first adult apartment there at the age of 20 ish
Uh-huh.
in the district near Little Havana. And now I've been in the district for almost 6 years living as an adult.
Mhm.
And I've had my business for about 8 years. So I really have built my business out of being in the district. And I've
Mhm.
developed as a community leader and as a business leader as well. And, you're right. In my district, there hasn't been a woman in office in at least 40 years. And it would be amazing and an honor to be able to represent women and to be an inspiration for young girls, ladies, all around.
You're already an inspiration to
Thank
me.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, and I'm crossing my fingers because
Thank
I
you.
mean, everything you said, I echo it. Like we need that.
Yeah, thank you.
So what are you most passionate about? I know you have like tell us what it is you're passionate about.
I love the arts. I'm a classically trained French horn player.
Oh,
Yep. And that's probably going to be my retirement plan to go play with some symphony or orchestra or something later on in life.
how
But
cool.
yeah, but for right now, my passions really come from serving communities, and it comes from leadership development and taking on leadership roles, which I'm not a stranger to, which is nice. I had my first volunteer experience at the age of 8 with the Special Olympics of Miami-Dade. And, we were just running around with different teams and participants and cheering them on and getting them water. But it was such an amazing, transitional stepping stone for what laid the groundwork for later on in my life. And so ever since then, where can I help? How can I help? What can I do to make, people's lives better, to help a certain population, to help a certain group? So, moving up the ranks in life, going from running for fifth grade class president to being band president my senior year to now recently chairing Leadership Miami's 42nd class. It's just something that's always been in my nature. And through that, community service has always been a big deal. So, through Leadership Miami, I've worked on maybe like 50 community service projects over the last 10 years.
That's huge.
It's so huge. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then through my business, we work predominantly with nonprofits and community initiatives. And I'm very much a big believer in social entrepreneurship. So when we have an opportunity to give back services, to donate time, to donate funds, to help give an extra boost in marketing support or whatnot, we do it because at the end of the day, we're serving a community, we're helping, we're giving back, and that's how I like to lead and to live through service and leadership. And in Spanish, we have a saying that is "haz bien y no mires a quién," which is
Mhm.
do well and don't look at who. And so I very much live my life like that.
Mhm. Um why are you running?
I love to serve. I genuinely, genuinely do. And my track record speaks for itself in that aspect.
Mhm.
And I've been serving communities through my career basically for almost 20 years now.
Mhm.
And it's something that I decided many, many years ago that I wanted to do, that I wanted to run for office so I could serve the greater good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now is just a great time in my life. I like we're talking about I have a small business, we're doing okay. And I just have the time for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Miami needs new faces. We need new leadership. We we could use a woman, just to
We,
throw that back out there again. But
I'm
we
supporting that. Amen.
Thank
We
you.
do.
But we definitely, we need new leadership. We need new ideas. We have issues that are either getting progressively worse, like
Mhm.
really dirty streets, at least in District 3. It's not getting better. The illegal dumping is out of control.
Out of control.
Yeah, and the streets aren't getting clean. And, there are solutions to it. In New
Mhm.
York, they have signage that says, don't park here from 1 to 5 because we're going to clean the streets. There's no reason why we couldn't do that as well.
It's
There's
true.
solutions. And so, it's the right time. It's just something I've always wanted to do. And it's a one of the greatest forms of service and volunteering that you
It's
can
true.
do.
So for anyone that's watching, how is District 3? What are the parameters? How is it outlined?
Sure. So District 3 includes the Little Havana area.
Mhm.
It runs west of the Miami River up through the Dolphin Expressway, down 22nd Avenue. Then it cuts west to 27th, comes back down to 9th Street. I know it's kind of hard to follow, but it includes Little Havana, Grove Park, Grove Park or Grove Nook. Sorry, I can't remember that right now, but I
Mhm.
think it's Grove Park, Little Havana, Calle Ocho, obviously the Rhodes area,
Mhm.
and part of Shenandoah, and what they're calling West Brickell as well.
Mhm.
So it's a decent sized district, which I've already had the honor of walking almost all of it.
And it is changing so
It is
much.
changing so much. We need to look at where we can preserve in our
Mhm.
community while we can also, change and adapt. We have a lot of really beautiful homes
Mhm.
that are old style Florida bungalows,
Beautiful.
old architecture, Spanish inspired homes.
Mhm.
Where I live, I have tile on my floor that's originally from Cuba,
Yeah.
and it's from the 1940s.
Yeah.
It's so precious. So, finding that preservation and modernization
Yeah.
combination is so important.
Yeah. What do you see as some of the biggest issues currently facing District 3?
We have several. Definitely the clean streets and the illegal dumping are a big problem. And the reason why is because, one, everyone should have a decent quality of life, right?
Mhm.
And that includes clean streets,
Mhm.
regardless of whether you live, where you live, what your tax bracket is, if you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, whatever the case is. Everyone should have clean streets. And that becomes a public health issue. I
Mhm.
was standing near a dumpster the other day in Little Havana, and there were 5 rodents just running around. You've got families, kids
Terrible.
playing. Yeah, it's not okay. Housing is a big situation. We have, housing crisis. We don't have enough inventory. There's not enough affordable housing. You have people who have been waiting on lists forever
Mhm.
and ever. There's a lack of maintenance in some of
Mhm.
these buildings as well. I was recently with an 85-year-old, beautiful, beautiful senior, and she was telling me she lives on the 3rd floor of a
Mhm.
low income housing apartment building, and her elevator has been out of service for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they had just fixed it that morning. It broke back down, and she was telling me that sometimes she goes a week or so without leaving her apartment because she's on the 3rd floor, without groceries because she has to wait for a social worker, and that's just not okay. We shouldn't be allowing our residents to live in these conditions. So, the clean streets, the housing issues, public transit, there's so
Mhm.
much room for improvement there. I haven't owned a car in almost 4 years out of, choice. It's convenient for me. I live next to a train station. I work from home. So I have the favorable conditions, but so many of our residents have to take it for work,
Mhm.
to pick up their kids. And, there's a lack of trees that provide shade and, that comfort to the walkability. And there's just like a lot of low hanging fruit. So it's a whole combination of things that, even at a bare minimum, if they were to be improved, would improve so many people's quality of life.
Mhm. If it's one thing that you would want to improve in District 3, what would be your main thing that you would want to? I'm sure there's many.
Yeah, and it sounds so basic, but it really is the cleanliness, because
Uh-huh.
across the district, and there's different parts of socioeconomic demographics in the district. But
Mm-hmm.
across the district, there is a problem with cleanliness and clean streets and the
Mm-hmm.
illegal dumping. And, there's so many young families coming into the district, and, keeping the neighborhood safe. And part of that is, clean streets, better lighting, more roving security the neighbors have been asking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in District 3, I know there's a lot of assisted living, seniors, and we were talking about collaboration or
Yeah.
lack thereof. Let's talk about that a little bit or elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So as I've been walking and meeting with seniors, I've also had the amazing opportunity of connecting them to different resources. And it's mostly because I'm in that space. In my career, I've probably worked with well over 40 or 50 nonprofits and community initiatives. And they're in need of services. And while they have social workers, there is a huge disconnect between our private sector and our public sector,
Mm-hmm.
and just knowing what services are out there. So I've been connecting people with immigration services to the Office of New Americans of Miami-Dade, who help people on their path to citizenship. I've connected people to free attorney services through Catholic Legal Charities of South Florida. Um, Connected people to Catalyst Miami for food stamp support and, being able to apply for food stamps. So, there's a whole plethora of organizations out there that are doing such amazing work. And we just need to work better with them to
And
amplify their
connect
voice.
them.
Yeah, and connect
Yeah.
them. And, the seniors, they're really appreciating being, approached
Mm-hmm.
and, asking what their concerns are, what their needs are, and then being connected to those services because they just don't know.
Yeah, right. I'm sure when they talk to you and you're making these connections,
Yeah.
they say to you, que Dios te bendiga, mija, que Dios te bendiga.
Yes, all the bendiciones.
How
It's
many
really
bendiciones
sweet.
have you had? Que Dios te bendiga.
Every day I feel extremely blessed in my life right now, to be quite honest with you. And it's a beautiful thing. It's
Gracias,
been,
mija.
yeah, no, and I always give them
Yeah.
las bendiciones back, and I tell
Yeah.
them how, I did my communion right down the street from where they live, and they appreciate it. And, it's a very sweet experience, and I'm just so grateful to be going through it and being able to meet all of these, residents of ours that are literally trapped in their homes because they can't leave. They
Yeah.
can't walk, they can't go up and down the stairs. And so it's been a beautiful experience, and I really truly hope that I get the honor to continue to serve them, whether it's from the city or from a local nonprofit or whatnot, because they really, really need it.
Yeah. So you're also a business owner.
I am.
Tell me a little bit about what your business is about and what it's called.
Yeah, so my business is the AO Insight Group,
Mm-hmm.
and it started as an event planning and communications agency.
Mm-hmm.
I did event planning for about 15 years, and I retired 3 years ago. And then I just decided, let's just do full on communications. It was a business strategy to be more sustainable and stable as well. Because as an entrepreneur, you need that stability.
Mm-hmm.
And so we basically serve as full service communications agencies for nonprofits, or we do digital media, website graphics, but within that niche.
Mm-hmm.
So we help amplify the voices of so many nonprofits in our community, not just in the city of Miami, but throughout the county, really. And it's also really beautiful because I get to continue to share resources, to connect people, even sometimes connecting some of my clients to each other.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful experience. And, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be quite honest with you.
I loved the story you shared with me about guitars and guns.
Guitars Over Guns?
Yeah, Guitars Over
Yeah.
Guns. Tell me a little, let's share that story.
Yeah.
And that's part of one of your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So Guitars Over Guns is an organization that's very near and dear to me because they work with students in middle school, and they do mentorship through the arts and mentorship through music. So, and as I was mentioning to you, being a classically trained French horn player and being band president and all of that, it was something that was so important for me to be a part of. And so when we started, they were like, well, we only have $100 to pay someone to do our social media. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm starting off too. So they were maybe like 3 years in. I was in my first year. I was like, I'll take your $100. But then as we started to grow, and we started to grow through them, I got a lot of referrals from them and whatnot. And I was like, you know what, just keep your money.
Mhm.
And so I was with them for 6 beautiful years where we grew up together as a nonprofit and as a business, and served as our communications director. We donated a ton of services. Now for the during the pandemic in May, um we gave them like 100 something plus hours just to work on a fundraiser to raise funds for their mentors who are musicians who lost their jobs during the pandemic,
Mhm.
and we were able to help them raise about $50,000.
Mhm.
And just doing things like that that really make a change in someone's life
Mhm.
is so special, and it's what I live for, to be honest.
I can tell in everything. I'm so glad, Violet. Shout out to you again for connecting us. I've loved getting to know you.
Thank you.
Another thing that when I was reading your website, which by the way, if you want to know more about Andriana, go to her website. It is www.andrianaoliva.com, and you can read about her there. And one thing when I was reading about her is you are dedicating this race to your grandmother.
Yeah.
And what was your grandmother's name?
So her nickname was Avi. That's what I used
Yes.
to call her.
And what is her name?
Elodia Rio Vega.
Elodia.
Elodia Rio Vega, yeah.
So my grandmother's name is Que Dios la bendiga. And she'd always say, Niña, yo soy una onza de oro. That's what she would always say to
Qué
me.
linda.
I called her Abi, and her name was Odilia.
Oh my God.
I'm like, when I
coincidence.
was reading this, I'm like, look at this name. I love that you're dedicating it to her. Me personally, I connected with that. And by the way, this was her ring, the first ring she
That's
bought
beautiful.
when she came to the United States from Cuba. It was the thing that she was just like, I bought this when I worked at the Royal Bank of Canada.
Oh, nice.
And she gave it to me before she passed away. And I wear it every day to think about her.
That's beautiful.
So I loved reading that.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask you, what have been some of the challenges and successes in being a business owner?
Every day there's a challenge. But every day there's also a success, you know?
Yes.
And when you're first starting off, and quite frankly, when I was in college, social media didn't exist.
No.
It just was not a thing, right? Not to date myself, but it wasn't, Facebook wasn't around yet. So, as you're moving into this new market, this new field that people needed, but people don't know how much they needed or what the value is or what the cost. One of our initial challenges was just pricing, just learning how to price, how to make sure that there's enough coming in. So if you have staff, you can pay your staff, you can pay yourself. So there's always a growing challenge with having a business. And then it's, what clients do you want to take on? And at first you're like, yeah, I'll do everything, send it my way. And then you realize that you can't and that it's okay to say no to business. And then, just trial and error with staff. The other day I had a girl who started with us and she lasted an hour. She just said she couldn't do it. It wasn't for her. And so, staff turnaround is a thing. All the little things that come with owning a business. Where's your next client going to come from? The amount of hours that you're working to, and during the day you have all these meetings and you go to networking events and whatnot. And then at night you're still doing the work. So there's a ton of challenges, but it's also very fulfilling because it's your own.
Yeah.
It's your own business. Even through the rough times, you know it's yours. You know that you have the liberty to take some time off here, but you're going to make up for it in the evening. And it's beautiful. It's an amazing growth and humbling experience, especially when you're trying to figure out when the next check is coming in or where the next client is coming from. And it's something that I definitely encourage other people to do. So when someone's like, oh, I think I'm going to go be a consultant or I'm going to go open a store, I'm like, do it. I'm right here with you. I'm your biggest champion, especially women in business. And it's a labor of love, a lot of sweat. Sometimes there's blood, a lot of tears, but it's worth it. I can't even express how worth it is.
Yeah. I love it. So before, okay, I'm going to ask you some of my fire questions, and then I'm going to ask you another question. So here in community newspapers, we like to focus on hyper local businesses.
Okay.
So let's give a shout out to some of your favorite local businesses in District 3.
Yeah.
Favorite restaurant.
Okay, so there's a couple of them. One of them
Let's give
is
them all.
Nemes, which we were
Uh-huh.
just talking about. Nemes is right off of Coral Way and about 12th Avenue. Really sweet little spot. Jazz in the evenings. They actually helped host the fundraiser that I helped Guitars Over Guns with. So, it's always nice to be able to give back to an establishment that also gives back. So there's that one. And then I just recently met the owner of a new place on 8th Street called La Taberna Calle Ocho. So if you like tapas or Cuban food, it's a fantastic little spot. Just opened up 6 months ago during the pandemic. The owner was a chef and decided he wanted to have his own business and, live his dream of being a business owner. Very respectable, very good food, very great service. Those are my top two.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. So La
La
Taberna,
Taberna Calle Ocho and Nemes.
Nemes, which
Mhm.
I've always wanted to go to Nemes.
So good.
And I see that they always have jazz music at
Yes,
night,
they
and
do. Yep.
I need to go check that out.
Yep.
Favorite local shop?
Dragonfly Boutique.
Ah,
They're not in the district. They're in the neighboring district, but they are in the
yes.
city of Miami. And simply because they work with women who were incarcerated and are getting their life
Yeah,
back on track. And I think that's so important to give women and give people, a second chance and an
totally,
opportunity.
totally.
So they're a great shop. You were just telling me about this and that
This
too.
and that shop.
So I can't wait to go check that out in the Grove. There's a lot of really cool spots. On
Yeah.
8th Street has a lot of really cool little boutiques and spots too.
I mean, 8th Street is just changing. It's so cool, I think, seeing.
Yeah.
And there are things that are being preserved there. And I love the whole mix of the old with the new.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And the vibrancy too of the different ages.
Mhm.
You see a lot of young people, you see a lot of tourists, you see a lot of seniors, a lot of small children.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing. And if we can preserve that culture
Mhm.
and we can preserve, the history in the area, I think, it makes for a successful community.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I agree. Favorite book?
Oh man. Favorite book ever? I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Really?
As silly as that sounds, because I read it such a long time ago, that book has stayed with me forever. Roald Dahl is one of my favorites.
Awesome.
But I just finished reading this book called The Corporation, which is about Cubans. And when they got here from El Mariel, my dad came through El Mariel. So, I've been taking a little bit of opportunity to connect with my roots and to learn a little bit more. And in reading these types of books too, I'm learning a lot about Miami and what Miami was like in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and today. And, I really enjoy reading books that are rich in history and in culture, whether it's mine, whether it's local community, whether it's from afar, because you learn so much from them.
Yeah. Podcast?
I actually don't listen to podcasts.
Okay. Do you have a best kept secret in Miami?
Aside from the sport of dragon boat racing that we were just talking about.
Yeah,
most
that's
people.
a best kept secret.
So I used to organize this event or this sporting event called the Dragon Boat Races. And it's got a beautiful Chinese folklore story to it.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. And I think not a lot of people know about it. And what's really cool about it is that it's a team sport. You have 22 people in this canoe that's 50 feet long. And it's an amazing team building activity. And we have several teams throughout South Florida that you can participate with. And it's camaraderie, it's fitness, you're out on the water. I mean, it's Miami, right?
Yeah.
You can basically be on the water all the time. We were the envy of the world because we could paddle here year round with no problem, while our friends in New York were stuck in indoor pools and whatnot. So, I think that there's a lot of little things like that are Miami's best kept secrets. You were just mentioning to me the Virginia Key Outdoor Center, which I'm very excited about checking out.
Yes. That's my one of my best kept secrets.
Yeah.
So in closing, Andriana, let's tell everyone why they should vote for you.
Man, I grew up in the district. I grew up in the city of Miami. I really, really do love it. I'm not your regular politician. I even hate calling myself that. I am a community servant. And my almost 20-year career trajectory, speaks for itself. And I just really love people. I
Mm-hmm.
really love serving, doing right by others, and making sure that people have access to the resources that they need.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be difficult, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Things should be accessible to our community. Things should be better communicated to our community as well. And being in communications,
Mm-hmm.
that is one of the things that's super important to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So if
So true. I say that all the time. You
yes,
don't know what you don't know.
yeah, so if you don't know that a service exists, you're not going to know that you can apply for it, right?
Yeah.
So, I bring a lot of fresh new ideas too, like we were just talking about. Even though they do it in New York, it hasn't been done here. So let's
Mm-hmm.
bring it down here. Let's look how to generate more income for our parks. They've got
Mm-hmm.
amazing venues that can be rented and used for different types of events,
Yeah.
all sorts of things. And I'm from the community. I am the community. And I tell people proudly all the time, I don't drive, so I take public transit. So I know, what could be improved on there. I'm a renter too. I have no
Mm-hmm.
problem admitting that, which is very uncommon. So
Mm-hmm.
I understand what's happening in the rental market right now and what's happening with the housing crisis. And so, it's just a down to earth person. I just do good, just
Mm-hmm.
do good. And that's what I live by.
Mm-hmm. I echo and hear everything in the past, just getting to know you. You are. And one thing that you just said about you are the community, you're from the
Yeah.
community. Eres parte de la comunidad, tú eres la comunidad.
Yeah, I'm part of the fabric. And
Yeah.
I was born in Broward, but I've been down in the city of Miami since I was 2, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole lifetime.
Yeah.
And now as I've been walking the whole district and discovering new little nooks and places and different housing styles, and meeting all the residents, I've fallen more and more in love with it every
Mm-hmm.
single day.
What number are you on the ballot?
I am 407 on the ballot. I
Number.
am the only female on my district's ballot,
Uh-huh.
or in that portion. And I'm also the youngest on the ticket. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm excited.
Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you so much success.
Thank you.
You're already a success in my book and in so many others. Vote for Andriana. She needs your support. And if you'd like to donate to her and support her in her campaign, go to her website, www.andrianaoliva.com. You can also find her on Instagram. And thank you for being with us again.
Thank you for having me. I'm extremely grateful to be here and
Thank you.
to be able to serve our community.
You're amazing.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
to you again,
Cristina.
whatever the outcome is. And we'll see you on Tuesday at our Monday at our regular time slot. Bye, Miami.